Okay, class, I'm going to show you how to cut out a mat. A mat is a paper frame like this. Usually it's made out of mat board or cardboard. In this case, it's tag board that's used to finish off your project. Here's a project right here that needs a mat cut for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure it. You can find rulers over on that part of the room, and you're going to get a ruler like this. You're going to need a mat board cutter and a mat board cutting device that looks like this. These are extra blades in case this would be dull. I'll show you where everything is. You go in this cupboard over here. Here's your black tag board, which you're going to use for your mats right now. So I'll grab a sheet of that out. There's extra mat board cutter here. There's another one, and there's a cutter back there. And then there's also some sheets in here that have step-by-step instructions. So what I'm going to do right now is set this up and show you how to cut your mat, okay? And it's not hard to do once you get the hang of it, but the first time you do it, it's a little tricky. Okay, I just need to set this in here. So first thing you're going to need to do here is you're going to need to measure this, okay? It's super important that you measure it. So if you see on this sheet, it'll say, first thing, measure the exact area that you want to show. So I'm going to take my ruler. Now I want to cover up this part here. So I want my mat to cover this up. I don't want anything hanging out there. Now this one isn't quite done, but I can see the lines that show you where she wants it. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go a little bit in from this side right here. I'm going to go to about here, and in this case, it's 14. Now, rather than just saying 14, I'm going to take my ruler and check to see if 14 makes it all the way up and down, and that looks pretty good, okay? Now I'm going to go this way. So her mat board cutter is, her one dimension is 14. I'm going to go this way. I can see her project's not done. I'm going to say 18, so it goes from about here to about there. So I'm going to go 18. I'm going to check to see if that's okay, and that looks good. It's better to make your mat smaller than too large. You make it too large, you're going to have to cut it again. Now, I don't need this anymore. I'm going to just put this off to the side, and I need a piece of paper that's 14 by 18. So what I want to do before I forget it, you got to make sure you write that down. Because if you're like me, you got a bad memory, okay? So 14 inches by 18 inches. Oop, my 8's pretty bad. 14 by 18 are dimensions. Now, since we're going to be having a 2.5-inch border, it's 2.5 inches all the way around. That means on a regular sheet of paper here, so in other words, if this was 14 inches right here, and this was 18, so let's say this is 14 and this is 18. I'm going to be adding 2.5 inches all the way around the outside, okay? So I need a piece of paper this big. Now, if there's 2.5 here and 2.5 here and 2.5 here and 2.5 here, that means the distance from here to here is 2.5 plus 14 plus 2.5. So rather than doing that, I'm just going to double the 2.5 to 5. So what I do in my original measurements here of 14 by 18, I'm going to add 5 to those, okay? So 14 and 5 is 19, okay? 18 and 5 is 23. So I need a piece of paper that's 19 by 23. That's the size paper that I need, okay? Now, I'm going to go over to the paper cutter, and I'll set this up. I'm not going to be able to get up close. My paper cutter is over there. Now, on top of the paper cutter, on the top edge of the paper cutter right here is a ruler. You don't need anything other than that. So I'm going to set this at 14 inches this way. So 14. And when I cut this, it's super important that I push it in real tight and make a swift cut. Now, if you got any extra paper like this here, I'm going to put this inside here. You know what? I just made a total mistake. I'm not supposed to go 14 by 18. I'm supposed to go 19 by 23. What a doofus. And I purposely did that so you wouldn't feel bad when you make a mistake. Okay? So what now? It is 19 by 23. So I'm going to go 19 this way. Look up at the top here. You'll be able to see the number 19. And there's a line there. 19, slice. 23. A little hard to see. Where's 23? 23 is right here. 19 by 23 slice. These extra pieces you can just put in the drawer here. And we're going to be using those in a bit. So this is now 19 by 23. Got it? There's no marks on this thing. Now, there is a little blemish on this side. I'm going to make sure this is my back side of my mat. Okay? Now, I'm going to take that and I'm going to draw lines on it. So I'm going to take my mat cutter. Let's go back down here. Here's the mat cutter. Now, right down here are some little guides. And you can see that this is black and that's red. Now, there's also numbers on the ruler. This says half, this says 2, this says half, this says 3. Remember I said 2.5. So a 2.5 between 2 and 3 is the half. I'm going to put that on the black peg. See the black peg? So this goes on the black peg at 2.5, and then up there, same thing over here. It goes on the black peg. So I get that set. Now I know that when I take my piece of paper and I put it inside underneath this little ruler, okay, if I put it here, I know that this edge is now 2.5 inches from that side, okay? So I'm going to set that in there. Remember, this was my blemished paper. There's a little blemish right there. So this is the back, okay? Now I'm going to take a pencil. Now I'm going to purposely use a white pencil so you guys can see it, but you don't have to use a white pencil. Any pencil would work, okay? And it could be a pen as well, but I'm going with a white pencil so you can see it better on this video. So all I'm going to do is set this up, and I'm going to draw my line. You're going to see it's super easy to do. Just go like this. Got a line. Take that, rotate it. Got a line. Take that and rotate it. Got a line. Take that and rotate it. And boom. Now, you'd say, I'm ready to cut. No, I'm not ready to cut. I have to move these pegs now from this black peg onto the red peg. Because now this ruler is off a little bit because it actually cuts off the ruler a little bit. Okay? Now, I'm not ready to cut yet. Almost. I have to check to make sure when this blade goes in, it doesn't go in too deep. So right here is a little gauge that I check, okay? Now on mine, I kind of eyeball it and I know where it's supposed to be. So if you have any issues, but what I always do is I always practice first. So I don't want to practice on my good stuff because I might wreck it. So instead, go back over to that drawer over there and let's get a piece of scrap out of there, which I have some scraps that I just made. Okay, so here's my scrap again, and let's go back down to here. And what I'm going to do is just kind of set this in here. Now, I don't have to put it all the way in because I'm just practicing. So I'm going to put that there, and I'm just going to put a mark like maybe there and there. And then what I'm going to try to do is when I cut, I have to start before the mark and end after the mark. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but this little edge here is going to go in just before this mark. So when I push it down, it rotates and it's in. Now it's in. Now I'm holding my hand really tight, and my free hand is going to hold this down. Now I'm going to slice from here to here, and I'm going to pull that out and take a look at it. Now when I look at it up close, if it looks jagged and fuzzy, that means my blade might be dull. This one actually looks pretty good. Now, just to see if I'm good at cutting, I'm going to try a couple more cuts. Remember, it doesn't have to be all the way in when I'm practicing. I'm going to start here and go to there. I'm going to take another cut. I'm going to sink it in, slide it along, and take it back out. Look at that, another cut. Beautiful. Okay, let's practice one more time. Let's flip it around, and let's just make another cut. Look at that. So get practice, get feeling good at how to be able to slice these things, okay? Don't need this anymore. Let's throw it away, okay? Now I'm ready to do my mat cutter. So the key is this. When I'm cutting the mat, make sure that you start before the corner and end after the corner. Don't stop short of the corner. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sink it in, slide it along, and then stop. Okay, I take it out and check it. Looks like it worked good. Okay, I'm going to rotate it now. And I'm going to sink it in, slide it past the corner. Once again, look at that. I'm doing good. Okay. Slide it in. Boom, all the way past the corner. Now this last one, I'm going to purposely do wrong. So let's say I slide it in, and I stop short of the corner. So I stop short of the corner, and you can see now this thing is hanging on by a little corner. Now you're going to be tempted to just grab that and yank it out. But if you do, you might rip a chunk out of the corner. So what I'm going to do is just kind of carefully put it back in here. So lift this up, slide it in, put it back in. I'm going to take my cutter and just start up here, sink it in, and just do a little further cut. And now this should pop right out. Look at that. Fantastic. Okay? So that worked. Now I'm going to save this. I may need it later, but for right now, I'm just going to put it off to the side. So now I'm ready to mount my project. Okay? Now, in this case, you can see she's got a pretty big border on hers. And if I lay this over the top, you're going to see that border hanging out over the side here. So she's going to need to trim this down. But don't. Are you listening? I said don't really loud. Don't trim it all the way down to here. Do not trim your paper down to here. Leave yourself a little extra, about an inch. I'm going to draw a line to kind of show you where I would have cut it. I'm going to cut it about there, about here, here. So I'm leaving the outside on there. I'm leaving the outside, but I'm just making it a little bit smaller, okay? You're going to do that. Now, this person here, who is a wonderful person, okay? She did this drawing, which I really like, but she has it cut down all the way already. So when we measure her thing, we have to actually come in a little bit. So I can't measure right at the corner here. I have to actually come in a little bit, maybe a 1/4 inch, go from there, and then I'd slide it over to here. And you can see here, I would probably go at about 14. That'll cover up a little bit that. So if you made the mistake of cutting yours down ahead of time and it's too small, you can, just make your mat a little bit smaller, okay? So what I'm gonna do right now is this. I'm going to go trim this one with the butterfly. And I know the girl that did this, let's see here. Still going. All right, technical difficulties, sorry. There we go. So I'm going to, no, I do want to do it like this. Okay. There it is. So once again, when I'm trimming this, make sure that you put a lot of pressure this way. And then just bring it down, slice, okay? Bring it down, slice. I'm trimming this down. One more slice, so far everything's good. There you go. And, oh no, I just cut a project in half. No, I didn't. So here we go. I've trimmed that down. Now, putting your mat on here. I need to put my mat board around here. Okay? Now, this part, pretty simple. Here's my mat. My mat looks like it's ready to go, just like that. I need to connect this to the mat. So I'm going to go to my tape board. Tape board's over here. And I'm going to come back. And here we go, a little tape. Now, I'm not just going to go like this and put my project down and tape it because it might be in the wrong spot. So instead, I'm going to take some tape on here. It could be this blue tape or masking tape. It really doesn't matter. This is just the first thing I grab. So I put some blue tape. The tape is facing up now. It's behind here facing up. Then I take my mat and I set it over the top. And when I get it in the right spot, that looks pretty good. I'm going to push it onto the tape. Push it onto the tape. That way when I flip it around now, okay, I know it's in the right spot. And what I'll do is I'll finish up by putting tape on all 4 corners and probably here and also here. Now, if your paper is really thin, you're worried about somebody like poking through it, you can take that scrap that you cut out earlier and you could lay it on top of here and just tape this down too. That'll give you a little more protection in the back, but you don't have to do that. And the last thing we'll do is we're going to put a label on your project down in the bottom right-hand corner. Got that? So that's how you cut a mat. But the one thing I want you to know is you need to make sure that this is the correct depth and actually make some practice cuts. Now, one more thing. If you would have to put a new blade in here, let me show you how to do that. So I've got some blades around here somewhere. Here they are. They come in a little box like this. This is how you do this. You unscrew this little thing here. Unscrew that. Okay. Push this in and you can slide this little thing out. Now, in between here is a blade in between there. Now, I can kind of pull it out like this. But a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just drop it. it'll come out, okay? Now, when you're looking at this blade, if you look really close, I don't know if my camera will do that, but this should be a real perfect corner. If the corner looks a little rounded, that means it's dull, okay? This blade here, both corners look good. So if you've got a dull corner here, all you got to do is flip the blade over, and we'll use this corner. And I'll put this back in here, so put it right in there, sandwich it between this, take this one, put it over the top, okay? Take my mat board cutter, open it, slide that in there, and put this little screw back in there. And now I've just switched the blade around. But if you take that blade out and it's dull on both sides, then you can get a new blade, and they're in a box like this, and it's in the right-hand drawer of my desk. The teacher or myself will get this out, okay? That's it.